Everyone says Ruichi Kihara and I have a sibling relationship. I'm Riku Miura and I'm not pretending today. Without him, I would have retired long ago. This relationship is more intense than love. You simply don't understand. First, he lifted me up and down on the podium and carefully zipped my jacket off the field. These details don't lie. Others see it as partner care, but I know deep down it's an ultimate sense of security that transcends love. After every defeat, he always comforts me first, silently processing the pain alone. This kind of protective love, willing to keep it all to myself, is something no ordinary couple can do. Second, he's 33 and still single, all for me. He hides all his personal feelings just to ensure stable performance on the field. He says he's family, but what family member is on call 24/7? He clearly chooses restraint because he's afraid of losing me if he crosses the line. The outside world
Imagine standing on the edge of the ice, your heart hammering so loud you can hear it above the crowd of 15,000 people. The lights are blinding. The world is watching. And the only thing standing between you and history is trust. Not talent. Not perfection. Trust. This is the story of two people who found each other not by accident, but almost by fate. Two skaters from Japan who were told, in so many different ways, that they didn't belong on the world stage. That Japanese pair skating had a ceiling, that they would never be enough. This is the story of Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara. And by the time this is over, you're going to understand exactly why the entire world fell in love with them. Riku Miura was born in 2001 in Osaka, Japan, a city known for its fire, its flavor, and its people who refuse to do anything halfway. She started skating as a young girl, the kind of child who threw herself into every spin and jump with a reckless, beautiful intensity. But figure skating in Japan was, for decades, dominated by the individual disciplines. Single skaters like Yuzuru Hanyu were national heroes. Pair skating? That was someone else's world. Ryuichi Kihara was born in 1995 in Kanagawa Prefecture, 6 years older than Riku, quiet where she was expressive, steady where she was fire. He'd been in the pair skating world for years, searching for the right partner, the right chemistry, the right story. Because in pair skating, it's never just about two people skating next to each other. It's about two people becoming one. And for a long time, neither of them had found that. The year was 2016. Riku was 15 years old, barely a teenager, when the pairing was first proposed. In Japan's tightly structured skating community, the idea of putting a teenage girl with a 20-year-old man on the ice together raised eyebrows. The age gap, the difference in experience, the unknown chemistry, it all felt like a gamble. But their coach saw something. Maybe it was the way Riku moved, like every step had a sentence attached to it. Maybe it was the way Kihara listened, like he was born to be someone's anchor. Whatever it was, they were put on the ice together, and the rest became one of figure skating's most quietly extraordinary love stories. Not a romantic one. Something deeper. A partnership story. In those first months, they were strangers sharing blades. The lifts were shaky. The synchronization was a work in progress. And Riku, still a teenager trying to figure out who she was, had to learn to fall, and then trust someone to catch her. Every single time. Nobody handed them anything. The international figure skating world has always been dominated by powerhouse nations. Russia, with its factory of technically flawless pair skaters. China, with its explosive athleticism and decades of pair skating heritage. The United States and Canada, with their polished performances and massive fan bases. Japan had never produced a pair skating team that competed at the very highest level. There was no roadmap, no blueprint, no one to look up to and say, they did it. So can we. So they built the blueprint themselves. Training days were brutal, 10, sometimes 12 hours on the ice, dissecting every movement, rebuilding it from the ground up. Riku would fall from lifts and get back up without complaint. Kihara would study their programs on video late into the night, searching for fractions of improvement. There were moments of frustration, the kind that don't make it onto television, the tears in the locker room, the arguments that come when two people care too deeply and push too hard. But they always came back to the ice. Together. Their breakthrough didn't happen overnight. It happened in fragments. A strong junior Grand Prix performance here. A personal best there. Slowly, the international skating community started paying attention to this unusual pair from Japan. The girl with the expressive eyes and the performance quality that made you forget to breathe. The man whose presence on ice was like a gravitational force, calm and commanding. By the 2021 to 2022 season, they had leveled up in a way that turned heads at the highest levels of the sport. Their skating had matured. The connection between them had deepened into something almost electric. You could feel it even through a screen. When Riku looked at Kahara during a performance, it wasn't the practiced gaze of a trained athlete hitting a choreographic cue. It was real. It was trust made visible. At the 2022 Beijing Olympics, they made history by becoming the first Japanese pair to compete in the Games in over 50 years. Let that sink in. 50 years. Half a century of a nation waiting for someone to carry that torch. And here were two people from Osaka and Kanagawa, carrying it together. The 2023 World Figure Skating Championships in Saitama, Japan changed everything. Competing on home soil, in front of a Japanese crowd that had waited a lifetime to cheer for a pair skating team they could truly call their own. The weight of that moment was immense. And Miura and Kahara didn't crumble under it. They rose. Their free skate that night was the kind of performance that makes grown adults cry in the stands without being able to explain exactly why. Every lift looked like flight. Every spin was synchronized with a precision that felt supernatural. When the music swelled to its final notes and Riku collapsed into Kahara's arms, not from exhaustion, but from emotion, the arena erupted. They won the silver medal. The first World Championship medal ever by a Japanese pair. Watch the footage. Watch Riku's face when the scores come up. That isn't just happiness. That's the look of someone who spent years being told not yet and finally got to say now. But the road was never just victories and celebrations. Injuries are the shadow that follows every elite athlete, and pair skating is one of the most physically punishing disciplines in all of sports. The throws, the lifts, the overhead positions, every single element carries risk. Riku dealt with physical setbacks that would have ended other careers. There were seasons where the question wasn't how high can they compete, it was can they compete at all. Watching them navigate those periods reveals the truest measure of who they are. Because it's easy to be brave when you're winning. It's something else entirely to show up to the rink when your body is fighting you, when the outcome is uncertain, when every practice session is a negotiation between ambition and physical reality. Kahara was steady through all of it. The older partner, the anchor, not in a way that diminished Riku, but in a way that gave her room to heal, to rebuild, to find her fire again. That dynamic, that quiet, unspoken partnership language they developed over years. It carried them through the hardest moments. Here's what fans around the world see when they watch Miura and Kahara that they can't always put into words: authenticity. In a sport where performance is everything, where athletes train their facial expressions like they train their jumps, Riku and Kahara feel real. The emotion in their programs doesn't feel performed. It feels lived. When Riku tilts her head back in a spin, there's something behind her eyes that isn't choreography. When Kahara steadies her before a throw, the calm in his hands tells an entire story about what these two people mean to each other. Fan communities from Japan to Canada to South Korea to Brazil have followed their journey with a devotion that goes beyond typical sports fandom. They're not just watching athletes compete. They're watching a relationship unfold, one built on years of sacrifice, patience, and a kind of mutual faith that's genuinely rare to witness. What Miura and Kahara did for Japanese pair skating cannot be measured in medals alone. They proved that it was possible. They tore down the invisible ceiling that had hovered over the discipline in Japan for decades, and in doing so, they gave every young pair skater in the country a new imagination for what their future could hold. Skating federations that once steered talented young athletes away from pairs because there was no clear path, now have a path. This path, the one Riku and Kahara carved with cold blades and warm hearts. They changed the conversation, and that change will outlast every score, every medal, every competition result. In the end, the story of Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kahara isn't really about figure skating. It's about what happens when two people decide, really decide, to believe in each other. When one person's courage becomes another person's strength. When the falls don't break you because someone is always there to help you back up. Riku was once a teenage girl from Osaka who loved the ice and didn't know yet what she was capable of. Kahara was a young man searching for a partner he could build something real with. Together, they became something neither of them could have been alone. And maybe that's the most powerful thing sport can show us. Not just what the human body is capable of, but what the human spirit can achieve when it chooses connection over competition, trust over fear, and together over everything. The ice is cold, but their story is anything but.